Kusangpo and welcome to Bhutan This Week, our weekly news magazine program where we take a look at some of the major stories covered over the week. I am Sharab Sangmo. In this week's edition, the President of India, Pranab Mukherjee, visits Bhutan at the invitation of His Majesty the King. The nation observes the 59th birth anniversary of His Majesty the Fourth Trukgyalpo and also launches the year-long celebration of His Majesty's 68th birth anniversary. And the Economic Affairs Minister says it may not be possible to achieve the target of 10,000 megawatt of electricity by 2020. The President of India, Pranab Mukherjee, visited Bhutan last week at the invitation of His Majesty the King. As the President landed in Paro Airport, he was received by His Majesty the King and Her Majesty the Gelson. This was his first state visit as President of India.
From the plains of Delhi to the mountains of Bhutan, it was about 10:30 a.m. when the plane carrying the President of India and his delegation touched down at the Paro Airport. This is President Pranab Mukherjee's first visit to Bhutan as President after assuming office in July 2012. His Majesty the King and Her Majesty the Gelson received the President at the airport. The fact His Majesty the King and Her Majesty the Gelson were there personally to receive President Pranab Mukherjee is an indication of the importance Bhutan attaches to the Bhutan-India relationship. Prime Minister Singh Topke, cabinet ministers and other senior government officials were also present at the airport to receive the President. The President was accorded a grand welcome with the ceremonial guard of honor. President Pranab Mukherjee is accompanied by the Minister of State of Railways, Foreign Secretary and Joint Secretary North among others. En route from Paro to Thimphu, the President was greeted by hundreds of school children waving flags.
Today we are here to receive the President of India and we are very happy.
For Ishigetse, Sonomugen, BBS News.
The President also inaugurated the school reform program. 49 schools in the country will be developed as central schools in the next 4 years, with free boarding and other facilities essential to provide wholesome education. The Government of India is providing 3.4 billion rupees for the school reform program, for which Bhutan received 868 million rupees.
The school reform program was inaugurated by President Pranab Mukherjee in the presence of Prime Minister Singh Topke, cabinet ministers and senior dignitaries this morning. Although Bhutan is close to achieving the goal of universal primary education, with a current primary enrollment rate of 95%, the Education Ministry continues to grapple with numerous challenges in providing quality education. Emerging youth issues is one problem, followed by problems in sustaining the small schools because of the decreasing number of enrollment trends in rural areas. Other problems include difficulties in deployment of educated teachers. The school reform program has therefore been initiated to improve the quality and efficiency of education services by rationalizing the small and unsustainable schools and consolidating schools with boarding and business services. Under the program, the 49 identified central schools will be developed to support children with services necessary for achieving a well-rounded education or to meet the overall needs for each child. Described as a symbol of partnership between Bhutan and India, the infrastructure of schools are supported by the Government of India at a cost of 3.4 billion rupees, towards which a cheque of 15 million rupees was handed over today. India, who has played a crucial role in development of the education system in the country since 1961, has sent and continues to send thousands of educationists and administrators. Digi Chorindaji, PBS News.
Another important event was the inauguration of the Jigme Power Training Institute. Trained manpower in hydropower sector is necessary to achieve the planned 10,000 megawatt of energy by 2020. The Jigme Power Training Institute puts to rest much of the concerns of not having enough skilled manpower for construction, operation and maintenance of hydropower plants. Constructed at 332 million Yultrum during the 10th five-year plan, the institute has an additional of 337 million Yultrum under the Project Tide assistance to augment the present institute from the Government of India.
The inauguration of the Jigme Power Training Institute is yet another historic event in the bilateral relations between Bhutan and India. Hydropower, as evident, is the centerpiece of the relationship between the two countries, and the institute is there to train manpower to man the several hydropower plants. With an ambition to commission 3 hydropower projects, the Punatsachu 1 and 2 and the Mangdechu hydropower projects by 2017 and 2018, it has become even more important for the institute to be functional at the earliest. And this is the current site at the Jigme Power Training Institute in Dikiling in Sarbang. It has an intake capacity of 300 people annually and could increase to 500. The institute is targeted to work towards becoming a center of excellence in hydropower skills and to deliver renowned training courses in the field of hydropower, hence providing trainings in line with the national priorities and provide technical and vocational education and trainings. The trainings will target youth, especially the school dropouts, and provide upskilling programs for those already working to update their skills in response to the changing labor market demands and new technology. The existing institute was constructed at 332 million Yultrum with funds from the Government of India during the 10th five-year plan. And an additional 337 million Yultrum has been approved under the Government of India's Project Tide assistance during the current plan period to augment the present institute. These include building additional infrastructure, procurement of tools and equipment, and other software components. Digi Chorindaji for PBS News.
His Majesty the King and Her Majesty the Gelson travelled all the way to Paro Airport to see off the President of India, Pranab Mukherjee.
His Majesty the King and Her Majesty the Gelson travelled all the way to Paro Airport to see off the President of India, Pranab Mukherjee. Prime Minister Sri Topke, Cabinet Ministers and other senior government officials were also present at the airport. On his way back to the airport, President Pranab Mukherjee visited Khatsarapchu Middle Secondary School. There, the President donated library books to the school. The books are syllabus-oriented and also contain books of Mahatma Gandhi. While in Bhutan, President Pranab Mukherjee held wide-ranging discussions with His Majesty the King on bilateral and regional issues. The President also met with His Majesty the Fodru Galpo. The joint statement on the occasion of the state visit by the President states that both sides expressed satisfaction over the excellent state of bilateral relations and reaffirmed their commitment to further strengthen the special friendship between the two countries. The two sides reaffirmed the trust and confidence between the two countries and their mutual security interest. Government of India reiterated its commitment to Bhutan's socio-economic development and continued support for the successful implementation of 11th Five-Year Plan. The President was accompanied by the Union Minister of State for Railways, 4 members of Parliament, Secretary to the President, Foreign Secretary and other senior officials of the Government of India. Pema Suki for PBS News.
In other stories now, the fourth session of the Second Parliament has begun. His Majesty the King graced the opening session Wednesday morning. His Majesty the King was accompanied by Her Majesty the Gelson. His Majesty the King and Her Majesty the Gelson were received in traditional chiptrail ceremony. They were received by the members of the Parliament, led by Prime Minister Sring Topge. And it is customary to begin the session with the Shudrel Finsum Sokpa. Speaking at the opening, the National Assembly Speaker on behalf of the parliamentarians thanked His Majesty the King for gracing the ceremony. This session will discuss the Office of Attorney General of Bhutan Bill 2014, the Companies Bill of Bhutan 2014 and the Enterprise Registration Bill of Bhutan 2014. The Entitlement and Service Conditions Bill for the holders, members and commissioners of the Constitutional Offices of Bhutan 2014, the Jigme Bill of Bhutan will also be deliberated for amendment. Meanwhile, during the joint sitting, the Local Government Amendment Bill, the National Assembly Amendment Bill and the National Council Amendment Bill will be tabled for discussion. The Parliament will also see Audit Performance Report, which will be presented by the Public Accounts Committee. The session will end on 9th of December. Sharab Sangmo for BBS News. The other major story we covered this week was the celebration of the 59th birth anniversary of His Majesty the Fourth Trukhelpo. As this important and special day was observed on Tuesday, the country also launched the year-long celebration of His Majesty's 68th birth anniversary. The Prime Minister Sring Topge was the chief guest. Addressing the gathering, Luncheon said that His Majesty the Fourth Trukhelpo brought great reform in the country.
Miwa duge jiba chogi setugo jembi nimle guzun masui rinlulu kha chewi chala wase chirpel thole sane jung dindi zona satem chemo samna dele masui rinlu gi sukdesu shisu zenandi wase chanyam miselu nai digi mase tanjulu miwa khora setugule gomshu zenamidi zamlingi gerabnalu namya ju manyomigi chezamchi in seshuni.
Luncheon also highlighted on Fourth Trukhelpo's selfless dedication to the nation.
Miwa chogi gekhabgi rawa ransen da sunchop dilu korai kusoluya mafamba gekhabgi tenlu chala zenai 당아처럼 두비미세 레레 신도기 디수 셈카 텐디 개캅기 라와 란센다 순춥로 팸비기 라 초티디라 베곱디 카체 세슈니.
The year-long celebration of the 68th birth anniversary of His Majesty the Fourth Trukhelpo was launched. As part of celebration, students from schools in Thimphu, monks from the central monastic body and performers from Rapa performed various cultural and entertainment programs. People Bibe spoke to said the day is an occasion to pray for the long life and good health of His Majesty the Fourth Trukhelpo.
Long live Your Majesty, and under your guidance and leadership, may the sun of happiness shine at all times for all times to come for Bhutanese.
다투슨 제나미 남서위 마치미세 가토게라 카르가스 봄이
제가 트네기 노로 마치차잡 때 가토도 디순디기 때 다리나 잔니는 콘도 다치 몽고민이 좀 텐텔레틴 야시 쇼겔라.
Coinciding with the event, the day will be marked as Gross National Happiness Day from now. The celebration ended with the Tashilebe. Compiled for Chetan Dupchu, Sharap Sangmo for BBS News. His Holiness the Jigme launched a book titled The Dharma King. The book is a tribute to His Majesty the Fourth True Gelpo. It contains a long life prayer for the Fourth True Gelpo. It also contains a song of victory and a song for His Majesty the Fourth True Gelpo, composed by His Holiness the Jigme. The book also focuses on the birth of His Majesty, his childhood days, ascension to the throne of Fourth True Gelpo, and noble deeds of the king. His Holiness also launched a book titled Fist for the Fortune, Positive Intent Action for Youth. Both the books will be distributed to the schools in the country. The target to achieve 10,000 megawatt of electricity by 2020 may not be materialized, said the Economic Affairs Minister. Limpo Nurbanchu said the government will have to sit with the Indian government and review the targets set in 2008.
3 major hydropower projects are expected to be commissioned between 2017 and 2019. Once commissioned, the Punazangchu 1 and 2 and the Mangdechu hydropower projects are expected to generate about 3,000 megawatt of power.
Right now, the power projects that are under construction are Punazangchu 1, which is 1,200, Punazangchu 2, which is 1,020, and we have the Mangdechu project, which is 720. Now, all together gives us a total megawatt of a little less than 3,000 megawatt, which is about only 30% of the 10,000 megawatt. So it's quite clear to us now that we would not be able to achieve.
Although implementation works are in progress for another 7 hydropower projects, some of the projects are expected to be commissioned only after 2020, hence compromising the intended target of 10,000 megawatt of power.
It is good that we have such an ambitious target. Now we need to sit together, we need to review the target, we need to review the entire hydropower sector and see how this target could be achieved now. Perhaps it would require postponing the deadline.
Today, there are as many as 10 hydropower projects under intergovernmental and joint ventures. Pemasuki for BBS News.
The Bumdiling Wildlife Sanctuary forestry officials in Tashang State dismantled over 300 snares this year in an effort to save the musk deer from poachers. Musk deer are the most poached animal in places like Pemaling under Bumdiling Gewok.
These science mountains are home to some of the Bhutan's rare animals. Endangered animals like bear, snow leopard and musk deer thrive in these parts of the country. But the mountains are not a safe haven for these animals due to poaching. Musk deer, according to the forestry officials, is the most poached animals in places like this. The musk deer are poached for the high-value musk. Poachers set up snares like this one to trap musk deer near their habitat. The snares, according to the forestry officials, are lethal for musk deer since they kill other wild animals indiscriminately. The forestry officials carry out anti-poaching campaigns on a regular basis. Although no poachers have been apprehended till date, the anti-poaching teams dismantled over 300 snares this year alone.
During our regular patrolling, we have not caught people red-handed so far. Since the area is very large and the people involved in patrolling the area is less, we cannot cover all the place at once. But we have discovered poaching activities carried out by the people.
Forestry officials, however, say poaching cases are declining, but shortage of manpower to cover vast area of land and lack of community support are some of the challenges faced by forestry officials.
We have few numbers of people who have to just cover a very large size, and then especially during summer, I think that the infrastructure such as tracks and wooden bridges that we need to close, it's all being damaged, and then because of that heavy monsoon problem, I think sometimes it's quite risky even to our own people.
The musk deer are poached when the snow in the mountains starts melting until the next snowfall. Musk deer is an endangered species and protected under Schedule 1 of Forest and Nature Conservation Rules 2006. Compiled for Pemanamge in Tashigang, Sonam Chudin, PBS News.
Well, that's all we have for you in this edition of Bhutan This Week. Thank you for watching.